Could ancient Peruvians really know how to melt stone blocks? This is not the only country that we find blown out and melted stone blocks. We found them in ancient Greece as well, but most of them are really something fascinating. How did they do this? Obviously, they had an ancient technology which we don't know about yet. Is it possible that ancient Peruvians had knowledge of mysterious advanced old technology capable of liquefying stones? Look at them. How did this melted stone fit into the granite? Look at this thing. Granite is one of the hardest stones. So if a Spanish artisan can carve a stone to appear like this it is today, worlds, why couldn't the ancient Peruvians? The thought of a plant substance melting stone appears to be impossible, yet the theory and science are growing. Scientists and archaeologists are attempting to determine how such strange ancient Peruvian construction as the Sacsayhuaman complex were constructed. These amazing buildings made of massive stones that our contemporary gear cannot move or arrange appropriately. Is the solution to the riddle a specific plant that allowed ancient Peruvians to soften the stone, or were they familiar with mysterious advanced old technology that could liquefy stones? The stone wall at Cusco exhibited traces of being heated to a high temperature and vitrified. The outside was glassy and exceedingly smooth, according to investigators Jean-Peter de Jong, Christopher Jordan, and Jesus Gamara. An artist in Spain may produce works of art that appear to have been formed by softening the stone, creating a gorgeous piece from it. They appear to be completely mind-boggling. I was about to say mind-boggling, but I didn't. Mind-blowing, but I didn't. Based on this observation, Jong, Jordan, and Gamara drew the conclusion that, quote, some sort of high-tech device was used to melt stone blocks, which were then placed and allowed to cool next to hard, jigsaw polygonal blocks that were already in place. The new stone would remain fixed against these stones in near perfect precision. That would be its own separate block of granite that would then have more blocks fitted into place around it and melted, quote-unquote, into their interlocking positions in the wall. This is what they claim. David Hatcher Childress wrote in the book Ancient Technology in Peru and Bolivia, in this theory, there would still be power saws and drills that would cut and shape the blocks as the walls were assembled, he said. According to Jong and Jordan, various ancient civilizations throughout the world were familiar with high-tech stone melting technology. So it's not just the Peruvians, it's also other ancient civilizations throughout the world, as mentioned, one of them being Greece. We have blocks like this in ancient structures in Greece. So they also say that the stones on some of the ancient streets in Cusco have been vitrified by some high temperature to give them their characteristic glassy texture. According to Jordan, De Jong, and Gamara, the temperatures must reach 1,100 degrees Celsius, and other ancient sites near Cusco, notably Sacsayhuaman and Kenco, have shown symptoms of vitrification. There's also evidence that the ancient Peruvians had access to a plant whose fluid softens rock, allowing it to be fashioned into tight-fitting masonry. I am sorry, but I can't believe that. You have to slather this plant juice over the rocks. I mean, that will take more than, carving them like that. Let alone finding the plant and taking the juice out of it. Now, Colonel Fawcett described in his book Exploration, how he had heard that the stones were put together using a solvent that softened the stone in the consistency of clay. Colonel Fawcett described how he had learned that the stones were held together by a liquid that softened the stone to the consistency of clay. In the footnotes of his father's book, Brian Fawcett relates the following story. A friend of his who worked at a mining site at 14,000 feet at Cerro de Pasco in central Peru discovered a jar in an Incan or pre-Incan burial. He opened the jar, mistaking it for chica, an alcoholic beverage, and broke the still intact antique wax seal. Later, the jar was pushed over and landed on a rock by mistake. Fawcett said, about 10 minutes later, I bent over the rock and stared blankly at the spilled liquid. It was no longer liquid. The whole spot where it was and the rock beneath it was as soft as wet cement. It was like the stone had melted like wax under the influence of heat. Fawcett seems to believe that the plant might be found near the Peruvian River's Chunco district, and he described it as having a reddish-brown leaf and standing around a foot tall. Another account is given by a researcher who is studying a rare bird in the Amazon. He observed as she rubbed the rock with a twig to make a nest, the fluid from the twig melts the rock, creating a hole through which the bird may build its nest. Okay, if it melts the rock, why doesn't this twig and the juice in it melt the beak of the bird? I mean, I'm sorry. But you can't have the precision of these blocks to such a state that, you know, the juice of a plant would do it. I'm sorry, but I can't believe that. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm just reading the text for you. Now, some may find it difficult to believe, I'm one of them, that ancient Peruvians could have built amazing temples using plant juice. Modern archaeologists and scientists are baffled as to how such massive construction in Peru and other areas of the world were built. Okay, so it's still a mystery. And I don't believe it's plant juice. It must have been some other type of technology we don't even know of yet. This is by Ancient Mysteries on Collective Spark. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.